subscribe.
Hi everybody and welcome. My name is Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. Today is a new series of videos that I'm just starting called Subscribers Videos. It's basically where you, the subscriber, send me little video clips of you playing anything you like, or you trying to work out a particular violin technique or anything like that that you might want some help with, or you might want me to perhaps just give you a few ideas on how to sort any problems out that you might be having, or basically just anything like that. So it's a new series where you guys can send me videos of you playing, and then what I will do is make it into another YouTube video so that everybody on YouTube and all my subscribers can actually benefit from those videos. I'm getting the same questions in the comment boxes underneath the videos that keep coming up time and time again. And apart from just kind of giving you a typed answer in the comment box, which is a little bit restricted and quite difficult, it's much easier for me to actually physically see you as well. So if you like to send me a video that I can put onto YouTube, then it will help benefit not only you but everybody else as well, because I'm sure there are plenty of people that are particularly in the same situation as you, where you've just picked up a violin, or you've got a violin for Christmas and you're self-teaching and you're having a look through my videos on YouTube or other people's videos on YouTube or any other resources on the internet or anything like that, and you just want a little bit of guidance from someone to sort of put you in the right direction, or to make sure that what you're doing so far is fine. So if you're out there and you're watching this video and you're going to be having the same problem as this, then this video will help you. So to start with, this is a video sent in from David, and he is from Shropshire here in the UK. Now, he sent me two little clips that I'm going to show you. So what I'm going to do is show you the clips of David playing. So thank you very much for David for lending himself to YouTube. But I'm going to show you those clips of him playing, and so you can see them all. Then I'm going to come right back and give him a few pointers or help him out with a few little bits and bobs and things. So here's the video of David. Okay, now there were two clips, but looking at the first clip of David, I noticed that his bow hold was very good. He shows you, I think it is in the second one, where he did sort of a close-up of his actual bow hold. His bow hold is very, very good. The only thing that I would say perhaps is that he maybe just needs to tilt his index finger a little bit further. So he seemed, all the fingers were in the right place, and the thumb was nice and bent, as you could see from the side view that he had there. But I would say that his fingers are a little bit too straight, so perhaps if he just bent them a little bit more, enough so that basically his little finger is, any more and his little finger would actually start to come off the tip of the bow, but so that his index finger was pretty much down as far as the hair, really, not too much up here, but quite down as far as the hair. So he's just tilting a little bit more, because you'll get more flexibility in the bow later down the line. So just making sure that he's that you, and obviously David as well, are tilting a little bit more towards the bow. I noticed as well that his strings are quite out of tune. It's very important that your strings are actually in tune. You might think that, oh, it's not that important, it doesn't really matter that they're not in tune, so I'm only a beginner and it, you know, whatever, why does it matter? Well, actually it does matter, because two things really is that you will begin to learn the sound of those strings being out of tune. So every time you play those strings, you're actually training your ear for that sound to go in and stay in your subconscious, when really the strings should sound like this. But what will happen is over time is that you will start to think that this is out of tune, and the sound that your strings are making are actually in tune, because you'll get used to it. So an A won't sound like an A, and a D won't sound like a D, but it'll sound ever so slightly different. So it's very important that you do have your strings in tune for that reason. The second reason, and probably more important than the first reason, is that if your strings are not in tune, when you come to putting down notes, you will overcompensate for your finger. So if your string is too sharp or too flat or whatever, you'll compensate putting your fingers in different places for that reason. Sometimes I've been in the middle of performances and my A string has gone out of tune. There's nothing that I could have done at that point to, you know, there was no rest place that I could quickly sort of retune it or anything like that. So what I've actually had to do is not play the open A string, and I've had to sort of move my fingers up a little fraction just to kind of compensate for my string being out of tune. And it's really frustrating, and actually it's quite difficult to do that. But obviously I've got many years of experience to be able to cope with that situation. But for you, instead of your first finger being here, say, you'll get used to it being ever so slightly up or a little bit too far back, and everything else will just sort of be out accordingly. So that's probably more important. That is a more important reason, sorry, to have your strings in tune. David needs to take care with the bow angle, if you may have noticed. So his bowing is fine in a sense, but it's just the angle. So you can see when he's bowing, it's looking a little bit like this. Now I've probably over-exaggerated that movement, so no offense to David there, but I'm just over-exaggerating just so that you guys can see the point I'm trying to make. So the bow is sort of going around the corner, and the reason why it's doing that is because it's the movement is coming from right from the shoulder here. What he needs to do is make sure that his arm doesn't go any further back than his body, and that it's all done from the angle of the elbow here. If he did it from the angle of the elbow and not moved the actual top part of his arm, then he would find that the bow would be straight. So I'm only just moving from the elbow here, and you can see that the bow is actually moving straight on the violin. So that, along with the slanting of the bow hold, will help to make the bow nice and smooth when you come to that later on down the line. You'll also get a nicer sound as well, because when you're actually bowing round the bend, so to speak, you won't be hitting part of it on the bridge and then you're back on the fingerboard. You're consistently going to be bowing in the middle between, or more or less in the middle between the bridge and the fingerboard, which is where the nicer sound is going to be produced. Okay, he needs to make sure that his wrist is down on the violin. On the neck of the violin, sorry. So I noticed that even though he was using the open strings, it's probably good practice to make sure that your wrist is not sitting up against the neck of the violin. What I normally recommend is that if you have your hand in this position, and what you do is just place the neck of the violin in that gap there. So you can do that and have your hand just like this if you want to, or probably, which probably would be better in the long run, is to have your thumb just sort of underneath the violin there, and just, if you want to, just have your fingers hovered over the string there. So they're all ready and they're in a nice position to do that, and that way the hand stays nice and flat and it's not up. If the hand is up, then your fingers aren't as flexible because the flat of your hand is touching, or the palm of your hand is touching the neck of the violin. It also means that you can't do vibrato very well. I'm almost having lots of difficulty doing that. And another thing is I can't reach any further than this. If my wrist was down and my thumb was at the side, can you see I can just move my hand wherever I want to, and I can reach up as far without having to overextend or stretch my fingers too much. So you need to make sure that the palm of your hand does not touch the neck of the violin. Going on to the second video now, his bow was bouncing. Now, in all honesty, it's not a criticism, but the reason why the bow was bouncing was basically David was making it bounce, and it's all to do with the landing. So if you just hold the bow from a little way from the strings on the violin and just sort of let the bow sort of naturally drop. So all I'm doing is just not doing anything, I'm just sort of gently letting the bow drop. Can you see that I'm getting that bounce? It's just naturally bouncing as I'm just dropping it on the violin. And that's what David's doing. He's not got any control in his hand when he's putting the bow down on the strings there. So he's just letting it bounce. So he's letting it bounce as he moves the bow down. So that's all coming from the hand. So what he needs to do is control the landing. So what I do is when I'm bowing, so say I'm doing a down bow, what I tend to do is just before the bow is about to hit the strings, I'm already moving the bow down so that when I do hit the string, I get that nice smooth movement rather than just letting the bow fall from the sky onto the strings and then moving it down. Because I'm going to get that bow bounce. So what I want to do is have the bow moving in action first, then as it hits the strings, because it's already moving, I'm not going to get that bounce there. I tend to kind of liken it to a plane landing. If you notice that when the plane gets nearer to the ground, it just doesn't get to a point and then just suddenly drops. Otherwise you'd end up with massive buffeting and a massive bounce on the on the runway. But what it does is it comes in at an angle, and at the same time that it's still coming in on an angle, and the wheels come down, they get to the ground and they hit the ground, the plane is still moving along, so it's coming in at a nice gradient, a nice angle, and therefore you get that nice smooth landing rather than just coming in and dropping. You're going to get the bounce. So it's very similar to a plane landing. So as you're bowing, whether you're going up or down, you need to try and get it so that your bow is still moving as you're coming down, and that way you won't, or if you're going up, keep the bow moving in the same direction. Doesn't have to be too much. I'm talking, this is all happening in sort of a split second. I'm just kind of isolating the movement and slowing it down for you. Easy way of doing that is to try and bow round in a circle. There's no bounce there because the bow is moving. If I just went, then I'm going to get a horrible scratch and a horrible bounce sound there. So that's basically the problem with that. It's just the landing and controlling the bow hand there. His bow might be a little bit too tight as well. Sometimes I find with the student quality bows, some of them can be, because they're not quite so nice quality, you have to have them too wide or too tight, or some people just over tighten their bow as well. So if you can see with mine, there's probably about 1 centimetre, maybe not even that, and I can just about put my little finger through there, just about. There is a little bit of resistance there. So you don't want to have the bow too tight, because it's going to make it very, very bouncy. It's great if you're doing, say, Baroque stuff, or you're doing something, you're flying off the strings, you're doing spiccato, staccato, I don't know, anything like that. That's great if you want to do that, but not so good if you want to eliminate the bounce. So make sure that you don't have your bow too tight, because you're going to get a lot of bounce there. If you do have a bow that's not so good quality and it has to be tight, then then that's fine. You've got to go with that, but try to have it as loose as it will possibly go before it obviously starts to get ridiculously loose that you can't play. So I think that's everything I feel I need to mention for that video. Thank you very much to David from Shropshire again for lending us himself for everybody on YouTube. If you're having the same problem, or you've had the same problem, or it looks similar to what you're doing and that sort of thing, then hopefully this has helped you. If not, there'll be plenty of other videos coming up soon, so don't forget to check those ones out. And yeah, if you want to help me put a video up to help everybody else and to help you as well, contact me and we can sort that out. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.
Subscribe.